Thank you very much for being here.
Ονομάζομαι Παναγιώτης Καζασίδης,
My
θα τα πούμε
name
και
is
λίγο
Panagiotis
παρακάτω και θα
Kazasidis,
μιλήσουμε
and
για την
we
αστρονομία,
will
την
talk about
ερασιτεχνική αστρονομία
astronomy,
κυρίως,
amateur astronomy,
κάποια βασικά πράγματα για το ηλιακό σύστημα,
a few points for the solar system,
και τι μπορούμε να κάνουμε
and
παρατήρηση
what
από ένα ερασιτεχνικό
we can observe with an amateur telescope.
Οπότε μπορούμε να προχωρήσουμε στην παρουσία.
So, just give me 1 minute to open my presentation.
Μ' αρέσει να κοιτάω ψηλά.
I like looking high at the sky,
Ειδικά ένα καθαρό βράδυ,
especially on a clear night
ασέλινη βραδιά,
without the moon,
πολλά αστέρια.
in a place that you can see all the stars. But what is that I see above my head? Let me introduce myself first of all.
Όπως είπαμε, ονομάζομαι Παναγιώτης.
My name is Panagiotis Kazasidis.
Είμαι ερασιτέχνης
I am an amateur astronomer.
αστρονόμος, είναι κάποιος που αγαπά.
An amateur astronomer is someone who loves astronomy, the science of astronomy,
Επαγγελματίας,
but
δεν πληρώνεται.
he is not a professional, he does not make his living out of it,
Και συνήθως
and usually they use a telescope or
ώστε να μπορέσει να παρατηρήσει τα ουράνια αντικείμενα.
goggles in order to be able to watch the sky,
Η ερασιτεχνική αστρονομία
binoculars to watch the sky. I am the president of the Hellenic Amateur Astronomy Association. I am an astrophotographer, meaning that I mainly use astronomic cameras through the telescopy, various objects, astronomic objects. I have worked as a presenter at the Star Lab mobile planetarium. It can be shown, it can be moved to schools and used to teach the children about various planets or their mythology. And I am an associate of the Visitor Center of the National Asteroscopy of Athens Observatory of Athens in Penteli.
Ο ουρανός λοιπόν από πάνω.
So, the sky above.
Όπως είπαμε, σίγουρα όποιος έχει βρεθεί
Those of us who have found ourselves
όλα αυτά τα αστεράκια
on the night sky have been able to see all those stars, and they are really amazed.
θα κάνουμε λοιπόν μια περιγραφή του τι είναι.
So, let us try and describe the things that we see ahead. How can we see them with our own eyes, with the binoculars, or with the telescope?
Θα πρέπει αρχικά να πούμε
Let us
ποια είναι η θέση.
start by saying where we are. Our position is on a place on Earth. It doesn't really matter.
Στη διάρκεια της ημέρας
During the day,
μπορούμε να παρατηρήσουμε
we can observe a very shiny, a very bright object, which is our sun.
ο ήλιος μας.
The sun is a star.
Τι είναι ένα
And now let us ask ourselves, what is a star? What are stars?
αστέρι? Είναι ένα
A star
σώμα,
is a bright
δηλαδή φωτίζει από μόνο.
body
Χρειάζεται εξωτερική πηγή φωτός.
which is self-lightened, and there it can produce energy and light by itself. The air of the stars are born within nebulas. Stars are born within nebulas. So from the moment that a star is born,
Από αυτό που θα μείνει
from what it will left,
διάφορα είτε αέρια είτε σκόρπια
we know that the material, those material might create a planet.
ανήκει στο πλανήτη.
Our Earth belongs to the solar system.
Ας το δούμε λίγο αναλυτικά.
Let us discuss the solar system. The solar system
Το σύστημα αποτελείται αρχικά από
consists from the planets and the satellites,
τον των αστεροειδών,
from the zone of asteroids,
Kuiper,
the zone of Kuiper, the nebulous of Oort, the Oort cloud.
κάπως έτσι έμοιαζε το ηλιακό μας σύστημα.
This was our solar system
Βλέπουμε στο κέντρο τον ήλιο μας.
when it was young. You can see the sun when it was born, and the material from that nebula cloud, which still remain and which gave birth to the planets. Here you can see a family picture of our solar system, the sun and the planets. We can see the difference on their size. Our Earth is on the left side of the picture, and which is very small. So, the Sun is a star. Its diameter is 1.4 million kilometers, which is 109 times bigger than the Earth's diameter. And the Sun is 150 million kilometers away, which is 1 astronomical unit. The Sun is a common star. The closest star to us, in order to understand the distance, is 4.2 solar years away. And now, let us understand the size of the Sun. Here you can see the Sun on the left side of the screen, and compared to Arcturus, it is the mass of that big star, which is a red giant. It is 27 times bigger than the Sun, and it is 36 years solar years away. Here you can see the Sun compared to Antares. Antares is 800 times bigger than the Sun, and it is 550 solar years away. Our Sun is not a big star, it is just a star close to our planet. So let us discuss planets and their satellites. They are two categories. The solid planets, such as the Mars, Venus, Earth, and Mercury, and the external planets, such as Jupiter, Saturn, and Neptune. Here we can see some information on those planets. Mercury, which is the closest planet to the Sun, is not the hotter one because it has no atmosphere whatsoever. So during the day it is burned by the Sun, during the night it is frozen, and its temperature goes from 200 degrees Celsius minus degrees Celsius until 427 degrees Celsius. Venus is the hotter planet of the solar system because it has a very dense atmosphere comprising of CO2. You can see that it is a huge greenhouse effect, and its temperature is 460 degrees Celsius. It is even hotter than our oven. Those two planets have 0 satellites. Our Earth. So the Earth is the only known planet that has got living organisms. It is our home, and we should take care of it. It has only 1 satellite, the Moon. Mars used to have water. Right now there is no water on Mars, and we know that we will try to colonize it. Here we're going to say something rather interesting. The Earth, when it comes to the rotation of planets, its rotation axis, the way that it rotates around itself, it has got a it has got an angle, and this is why we have the seasons in Earth. Here you can see the way that seasons change, the solstices, the winter solstice and the summer solstice. We have the winter solstice on the right hand and the summer solstice on the left hand. When it comes to the axis of rotation, during the summer solstice it goes towards the Sun, and in the winter solstice the north hemisphere goes away from the Sun, and this is why we have summer. And when we go to the other side, we have winter. And in the equinoxes, the Sun sheds light to the axis. This is why we have the same period of day and the same period of night. Due to that angle, at some point during the year, the Sun comes above our head. Those two points are the tropicals, and twice a year the Sun reaches above our heads. Now let's continue with the other planets. With the giants, Jupiter, the largest planet of our solar system.
χωράει σε μάζα όλους τους άλλους πλανήτες μέσα του. Έχει περίπου 79 δορυφόρους.
It has 79 satellites, both when it comes to Jupiter and Mars and Saturn. We still find new satellites. And Saturn, the Lord of the Rings, as we say. Saturn is a wonderful planet, and this ring that we can see consists of ice, dust and rock, and it is very thin, like a CD player, so to say. This is its diameter. It is a very thin ring, so to say. And the Saturn has a very specific characteristic. It is very thin, which means that it is the only planet that could float if we have had a big pool in order to put it inside. Now, when it comes to Uranus and Neptune, we can see two bluish stars with a telescope. We cannot see a lot of details. Now let us continue with the zone of the asteroids. Asteroids are rocks, and between the orbit of Jupiter and Mars there is this zone that there are rocks, as you can see in that picture. The Kuiper zone, it is a zone, an area if you wish, outside of our solar system, outside Pluto's orbit, where there are asteroid-like bodies, objects. The comets, the wonderful comets, which move around in our solar system in various curious orbits, rather elliptical, which means that they may go away for hundreds of years and at a certain point to pass by the Earth. And when they go near the Sun, since the particles evaporate from the energy, we see this beautiful tail that they leave behind. And this is why in Greek this tail is called comet. This is why they were named comets. The Oort cloud resembles the asteroid zone and the Kuiper zone. However, it is far away from our solar system.
Now, let's cut to the chase. The solar system and the way we see it through our eyes. What can we see with our eyes? We can see the moon, which is a natural satellite. We can see the planets. So we have Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter and Saturn as non-blinking stars. When we watch numerous stars and I'm looking at the level of the sun's orbit throughout the daytime, if I see a shining star with the light of which does not blink, as is the case with the other things, when we have stable, steady light, then this is a planet. It is a matter of disturbance of the Earth's atmosphere when they're not blinking. And we also have the shining comets. Now, the phases of the moon. The moon rotates around itself at the same speed that it rotates around the Earth. That means that we always look at a single side of the moon. Depending on where it is in terms of the Earth, the sun sheds light on half of the moon. But you do know that sometimes we cannot watch this back, or its anterior posterior. Sometimes we have the full moon or the half moon, or when it is in another phase, when we have the waning crescent or the waxing crescent. The eclipse is the most beautiful phenomenon that a person can witness. I have witnessed the total eclipse of the sun in 2006 at Castellorizo, and it was an amazing sight. Here we have three types of eclipses. The eclipse of the moon, when the shadow of the Earth falls on the moon. This means that the moon appears to be red. This happens when we have a full moon, because we need to look at the posterior aspect of the moon. Then we also have a total eclipse of the sun, and we might have either partial or total eclipse of the sun. How we can see that through the telescope? We can see the sunspots. And by spots, I mean the areas of activity on the sun. The craters of the moon, and of course the phases of Venus. Venus, thanks to its orbit, has numerous phases, just like the phases of the moon. Now, through the telescope, we can see Mars, Jupiter and Saturn, and in every little detail. And here are the objects that we can see in further detail in our system, in our galaxy. All that through a telescope. Now, where is the solar system? It is contained in our galaxy. At this point, you should know that galaxy is written with the capital G. It is in the arm of Orion at a distance of 26,000 light years from its center. What does it mean? A light year is the distance that light travels over a certain amount of time. The speed of light is 300,000 kilometers per second, and if you do the math, you can see the distance that it can travel over a year. What are the galaxies? Islands of stars. This is what the galaxies are all about. Numerous stars have been created. It is a sort of island that includes stars, planets, comets, all those items. A standard galaxy has 10 million up to 1 trillion stars. Now, our galaxy, written with a capital G, includes the Earth, the Sun, and 200 million stars. And here you can see where our solar system is located within the galaxy. When you look towards the red arrows that you can see on the graph, we're looking towards the center of the galaxy. This happens during the summertime. And this is why in summer we see this cloud, this pronounced and dense cloud of the galaxy. When we look towards the blue arrows, we're looking towards the Orion's arm. It means that we don't have such an extensive cloud, not so many stars, because on the one hand we're looking towards the center and the rest of the galaxy, but on the other side we're looking just to a certain portion of that which is not that dense. Deep Uranus. It's the deep sky. It's everything existing outside the solar system. It includes other stars, open cluster of stars, sphere-like cluster of stars, diffuse nebulas, planetary nebulas, supernovas, galaxies. And where are they located? The stars that we can see are located in this small circle at the end of the red arrows. We can only watch a few stars with the bare eye, with the naked eye, excuse me. Stars create some other asterisms. We have 88 main asterisms. So this does not mean that they're all clustered together. They're scattered on the sky, and they create the impression of a star sign that is being named after the various star signs, but they are arbitrary formations. And of course, each one of us could name another star formation that could be legit. Now, nebulas and open clusters are located within our galaxy. The sphere-like clusters live in a sphere around the galaxy, and in order to watch them, we don't want to have interferences from the sun on the galaxy. Just like we have the level of the galaxy, we also look either upwards or downwards in order to look at those spherical clusters. And this is what we watch in the other galaxies, because our galaxy is in the middle of that. So either we look at the upper or the lower part of the galaxy. What can we see in the stars? Well, they have colors. We can see their colors. The color is indicative of their temperature. And that's the curious thing. Curious for us, not for nature. When a star is very hot, its color is bluish due to the heat length of wave. And the colder it is, it gets redder, contrary to our taps. Double stars are star systems that were born together due to the same cloud, and they interact with each other. We have the open star clusters. We talk about stars that were born together, they stem from the same cloud, and they are interdependent. And in that case, you can see the Hyades and the Pleiades on the two green circles on the right. Through a telescope, we can also see other star clusters. E.T. the alien, for example, that's a very beautiful cluster of stars, as well as the butterfly cluster. Of course, those pictures show numerous stars, and we don't know how that would look like through a telescope, but I have watched them both, and they both look like the same. We have the E.T., the alien cluster, and the butterfly cluster, because the formation reminds us of those specific items. The spherical clusters. The very large spherical clusters sometimes are called failed galaxies because they have a mass that's substantial enough to be a galaxy, but they fail to become one. The most famous spherical cluster is the M13, the Hercules cluster. It is a huge spherical cluster. Let's hope that we'll be lucky enough to watch that tonight. Diffuse nebulas are nebulas of gases that have formed stars. They might emit light or they might absorb light from the stars. We have numerous types. We have emission nebulas because they have some hot stars within them. And they create ionizing radiation. And then this radiation emits other wavelengths. We also have the reflective nebulas, just like our clouds on the sky. We have a cloud, then we have a nebula that reflects the light of the sun, and we also have the dark nebulas. Dark nebulas are very impressive to see in a picture, but very difficult to discern through a telescope. Some of them are very impressive, because just when you see a field of stars, all of a sudden something has happened, and that's a dark nebula. Those are a few examples. We have the Lagoon Nebula, and another dark nebula. You can see how it has been designed. And you can see that we have this lactate light of the sky, and all of a sudden there is something dark. It's not ink that has been spilled, it's the nebula trace. Planetary nebula, the death of the stars. And when they reach the end of their lives, they start falling apart due to their own gravity. At some point, temperature rises again, and this makes them larger. But when they're about to fall apart again, to collapse due to gravity, then the layers of their gases remain at the back, and this creates the shells of gases that we call planetary nebulas. Because in the first telescope we had, we saw them forming circular masses and we thought that they might have been planets, residues of supernovas. As with planetary nebulas, more or less we have the same type, but to a larger extent with much more energy, and they are big stars. Stars that are as large as 10 times the Sun's mass in order for a supernova to appear. Galaxies. We have billions of galaxies. And there is one galaxy that we can see with the naked eye. It's the Andromeda galaxy. And through a telescope, how can we see the various galaxies? Just like we have the star clusters, we also have the galaxy clusters. A typical example is the Markarian chain. And we can watch numerous galaxies. Πώς είναι το προσοφθάλμιο, ποιος ξέρει? In conclusion, we have seen what exists in our neighborhood, in our galaxy. We can watch things either with our eyes, with a telescope, with binoculars, as long as we have a map and a dark sky to be able to see. Because if we are in the city, the lights are blinding us. And I should tell you that the observation of numerous items is not that exciting, it's not that easy. We need to have in-depth understanding of what we are watching. It's only when we realize that this light that we now see has traveled hundreds of light years in order to be caught by your sight, stimulate the nerves in your brain, and then you're able to perceive that through vision. And then you do realize how impressive it is. There's a sky up there waiting for us to discover it. Thank you.
Ο Χριστός και η Παναγία.
Πάλι καλά τα πάμε, να ξέρεις.
Πάρα πολύ καλά τα πάμε. Αντικειμενικά τα πάμε καλά, Γιάννη. Δεν έχει πει τίποτα. Τι να πει ο άνθρωπος?
Το βράδυ θα έχουμε και ένα τηλεσκόπιο στημένο στο σημείο που θα γίνει και...
We will have a telescope at night near the fisherman's house, the fisherman's kiosk, and we will be able to watch the moon or Venus before it sets.